Hi, my name is Kate Robinson. I'm the executive producer of the film Saving Philanthropy, and I'll be your instructor for this course, Introduction to Managing to Outcomes for Nonprofit Organizations and Their Funders. So I think it's really important to be clear about who this course is designed for exactly. Oftentimes nonprofits are lumped into large categories together. There's so many different kinds of nonprofits that we really want to be clear that the course is designed for any social service organization or their funders. So whether you're funding social services or you're actually conducting social services, this course is for you. This course is designed to help you improve your effectiveness. And we want to do that in two key ways. First, we want to explain measurement and why measurement is so important. And second, to clearly define for you managing to outcomes. So what we mean by social service organizations, we chose this as a target it doesn't matter how large your organization is really, or how much funding you have, how many resources you have available to you. What we really care about is that part of your mission is to bring about a change in attitude, in knowledge, in behavior among a particular target population. So those are really the organizations that we're going to be looking at here in this course. The other thing that we think is really important is that you need to obviously care about being effective, really that what you're doing is having your desired effect and that you're struggling a little bit to measure it. If you're not struggling to measure it, you're alone. Even the organizations that do the best job in the country of measuring are struggling a little to measure their effectiveness. In my mind, knowing what doesn't work and being able to avoid spending money and time and energy and passion and hard work on things that don't work is worth its weight in gold. I mean, I think knowing what doesn't work is just as important as knowing what does work. So I just want to give a little bit of more information that we've learned since making the film. Increasingly, the demand for nonprofit services is increasing. There's a number of nonprofits, including foundations, as you saw in the film, that's on the rise. It's continued to rise almost in that same way despite the economy. So we see the demand increasing, the number of nonprofits increasing, and sort of this diffuse service delivery happening. Still, I thought this was interesting that statistic from 2008 of $300 billion, still now in last year, the year before last, 2011, there was $298 billion given to the 1.1 million nonprofits that are not churches in the country. And so even though it's not increasing, we've stayed steady despite the economy. So I think there's this sense that there's not enough money and that money is kind of running out, and that's not entirely true. And I think I'd even say that money is not the problem. That money doesn't guarantee effectiveness, as we all know. You can make tons of money as a nonprofit, have loads of resources, and still be completely ineffective. You can serve lots of people and not make a big difference. I think this is a really important distinction to make, because still, especially, I think funders oftentimes want to hear that you are serving many people and maybe that you're spending a lot of time serving them, but that's not necessarily an outcome, right? That doesn't tell us that you're having an effect. It just that you're just serving a lot of people. And I think it's important to note that also that it's the same for funders. Giving away a lot of money doesn't necessarily make them effective philanthropists or effective at creating social change. I mean, you can give away loads and loads of money and you have no idea what's going on with it. And even if you're paying attention to an organization's overhead, that's not necessarily telling you how effective they are. In fact, there's almost no chance that that's telling you if they're really truly effective. Some of the organizations with the highest overhead are, creating some of the biggest impacts in our society. So I like to just give this example in terms of money not guaranteeing effectiveness. The Case Foundation, I don't know if anyone has seen this Frontline It's a short documentary that was done on a Case Foundation funded project around play pumps in Africa. And it was in several different countries in southern Africa. And this guy had this great idea of, instead of having to hand pump water, he created these pumps that the children, it was almost like a merry-go-round. And so the children would push it, and they loved pushing it at first. And so they would play on it, and it would pump water. And so for the first year, this looked like this brilliant solution to some of the water problems in really rural parts of these southern countries in Africa. And the Case Foundation funded his initiative and then was very successful in getting the Clinton administration to also give money and other private foundations to give money. And they ended up with millions and millions of dollars for these play pumps. And they ended up building lots of pumps and implementing lots of pumps. And then you see, actually Frontline has, and I'll put this in the email to you, the resource to this little doc, because it's only about 30 minutes, but it's really compelling because you see her at the beginning, she actually, the producer goes out to make this piece sort of supporting the idea, saying here's a great solution to some of the water problems. And then she goes back to find that the play pumps have sort of broken, they're very hard to upkeep, the kids don't want to play on them anymore. So now you see the women who were having to trek everywhere with the water, like pushing the merry-go-round thing to get the water to come, and that became this way more laborious task than what they were doing with just the pumping originally. I feel like that kind of thing, and it's really quite moving because you can actually see, they interview some of the women who are saying, this has really disrupted my life. I mean, I had water here, now I have to walk 2 miles to get water every day because our pump is broken and this kind of thing. And I think that does a better job than almost anything of pointing towards kind of how important that really careful internal assessment can be to know, okay, we're ready to scale, and what we're doing really will work in the long haul. I think sometimes too, funders push scale or, pretty heavily, like, again, wanting to serve more people, when it makes a lot more sense to make sure your model's tight and you know what you're doing with the people that you're serving before you move on. DARE and Scared Straight are 2 great examples that I like to share because there's so much evaluative evidence that supports that both DARE and Scared Straight do not work. DARE is just an abysmal waste of resources. There was just no effect whatsoever. Scared Straight is actually a worse story because there's been 3 randomized controlled trial evaluations that have showed that it's actually causing harm, that like LAYC, but it's still running, and now there's a show on AMC about it that popularizes it even more. The federal government likes it, the media likes it, and it's the program where, and Saturday Night Live has even made fun of it, where it's the program where they have kids come into the prison to talk with people who've been incarcerated to sort of warn them of the perils of criminal activity, when what it actually does is, for whatever reason, it tends to sort of predispose these kids or enhance a little bit their tendency to become criminals. And that's, again, it's been proven in 3 trials and we're still funding it. So the point there, I think, is that, we're living in such an interesting culture. It's not like with, you're getting rewarded for effectiveness as a nonprofit. I'm not denying at all that if you don't have a decent fundraising team, you can forget it. It doesn't matter how effective you are. I think, though, that it's important for us to sort of keep funders' eye on the prize about what we're doing as organizations and why it's impactful. And so the only thing that makes our organizations strong, good, effective organizations is that we are creating the benefits for those people that we're designed to serve. I think often because of the media and through funding, we're able to say, hey, this is a great organization because they get a lot of funding, or they have a line item in the federal budget, or they make a really good story, they have a lot of different funders. None of those things matter at all unless we are serving the people we're designed to serve well, and we're able to really see and back up with data the benefits that we're having for those people, and that we're having having the benefits that our programs are designed to serve, whether it's a knowledge increase, whether it's a behavior change, an attitude change, a change in a particular cause in a certain direction, unless we're seeing those types of changes and we have data to back it up, it doesn't matter how much money we're raising, how much money we're giving, how much money our organizations have.